Emily, what did you do? My boyfriend Adrian's voice was sharp and scared. You killed her? It hurt to hear him say that. There was blood everywhere. On my hands, the knife, the floor. But her eyes were the worst. Wide open, still, looking up like she was searching for something. Adrian's ex-girlfriend, dead. And I was holding the knife. That night, I was just standing there, frozen, confused, scared. Adrian's ex never really let him go after they broke up. She caused fights and tried to ruin things for us. We learned to handle it. But that night, I found her dead body right there in my own room. It made no sense. How did she even get in? I didn't kill her. I am not a murderer. I am Emily Cooper, daughter of one of the wealthiest men in New York and heir to the Cooper dynasty. But it didn't matter when the sirens wailed, when the police rushed in yelling and pointing guns. Secure the area, show us your hands. I tried to speak, but no words came out. I wanted to scream, to explain, to tell Adrian it wasn't what it looked like, that I didn't. Save your lies for the judge, Emily. His words hit me like ice water. Just like that, the man I'd loved, trusted, and shared my life with for 2 years stood against me, convinced of my guilt. That day, my life broke. They put me in chains and took me away while Adrian just stood there, quiet and cold, watching me like I was a stranger. And then I realized something. He wasn't confused. He wasn't scared. He was ready for this. The trial was awful. Everything looked like it was my fault. Too much so. It felt like someone wanted it to look perfect. Too perfect. They said I was jealous, crazy, couldn't handle being dumped. They said I killed her because I was angry. And Adrian, he agreed with them. I was found guilty, locked up. In that prison cell, I had my baby boy. He had my eyes, Adrian's jawline, and a weak heart. He died very soon after he was born. Adrian took him from me before I could really hold him. When I begged to see him again, he just sent a message. He was dead. Just like that. A death paper. A simple story. No details, no goodbye. My father, who was always strong for me, couldn't handle it. He had a stroke and went into a coma. My family's company, the Cooper business, was given to Adrian, who never deserved it. For 5 years, my cell was my whole world. Cold, quiet, cruel. But I survived, because I knew one thing, they would all pay. And now, I'm back. New York City is the same, but I'm not. Now, 5 years later, I was sitting next to him again, in his car. New York City went by like ghosts, and I still heard his voice from that night. He drove like nothing had happened. Like we were just old lovers getting back together. You should come home, Em, he said gently. The house is the same. Lorraine made your favorite. Chicken risotto. I stared out the window, my jaw tight. I don't want to go home, Adrian. Just take me to a motel, and take me to the office first. I need to go there immediately. He blinked, surprised. His hands tightened on the steering wheel. You sure? Yes, I said coldly. He didn't argue right away, but I could feel the tension between us. Unspoken, dangerous. He stopped near Cooper Tower instead, saying we needed to talk before I disappeared into some cheap motel. Emily. He got out, walked around, and opened my door like a gentleman. His expensive shoes clicked on the sidewalk. Still expensive, still clean. Emily, you look amazing. Just like before, I've missed you. His voice still sounded sweet, but I knew it hid something bad. I looked straight at him. Did you miss me enough to visit me in prison? Oh, wait, you never did. He laughed awkwardly, like that could fix everything. I didn't know how to face you, Em. I was broken. I lost you. And our child. My stomach twisted. He dared to bring her up. The daughter I never held. The child he said died in his arms from some unknown sickness. Let's not pretend, Adrian. You let them think I was a murderer. I didn't want to. I was scared. But I never stopped loving you. He reached for my hand. I let him. I even smiled, because prison taught me something. You don't fight wolves by growling. You pretend to be the lamb. Thank you. For the second chance, I said. Let's take things slow. Like before, he replied. Oh, Adrian, there will be no before. Only an end. Yours. I walked into the building alone, past people who looked uncomfortable seeing me. My name was still bad news here. My office was modern and empty, like nothing had ever happened. But the silence in it was so loud it hurt. Then Liam showed up. My father's old sales manager. He looked at me like he couldn't believe I was real. Welcome back, Miss Cooper, he said softly, leading me into the office. Are you sure you're okay with all the work? I nodded. I didn't come back to be weak." He hesitated before leaving. "You know, your father wouldn't have let any of this happen if he could have fought. He trusted the wrong people." My throat tightened. He meant Adrian. I knew it. But hearing someone else say it confused me. It shook me. Liam looked at me again, softer this time. "There's a lot you don't know, Emily. He and Lorraine. They've been planning this for a long time." Then he left. And I stood there, confused. My gut always told me Adrian betrayed me. But planned it? From the start? I didn't know what to believe. I walked into the hallway, my heels clicking like gunshots on the marble floor. I walked back into a dangerous place. They think I'm broken. They think I'm stupid. Let them, because I will smile, and I will wait, until I can destroy them, one by one. The quiet in my office felt like it was going to swallow me, so I went to the cafe for some air during lunch. That's when I saw him. A little boy, about 5 years old. Brown curly hair, chubby cheeks, a train backpack bouncing as he ran past me. Then, bam, he ran into my leg. "I'm sorry, miss," he said quickly. "I didn't see you." I smiled for real. "It's okay. Are you lost?" "Nope. It's my dad's birthday. I snuck out to buy him a present. He was happy and proud. Something about him, his eyes, made me feel strange." "Can I help you pick something?" "Yes, please. I'm Jonathan. You can call me John." "Hello, John," I said, kneeling down to look at him. He took me to the store and pointed at the fanciest tie. "My dad will love this. Can we get it?" I hesitated. It was expensive. "Do you have enough money, John?" He winked and opened his backpack. It was full of money. "Don't worry, miss. My grandparents and dad give me a lot. I saved it." He bought the tie without thinking twice. As we walked back to the lobby, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Warmth. "I like you, miss. I want to stay with you longer." And then, "Jonathan!" A strong voice called out. Men in suits surrounded us. The man in the middle. You couldn't ignore him. The air felt charged. His eyes met mine and something passed between us. Did he recognize me? Was he confused? John grinned, not noticing anything. "That's my dad. I was buying the gift for him." His father's eyes stayed on mine. "Emily," he said. "Just my name." But it felt like thunder. How did he know me? John looked back as they took him away. "Don't forget me, Miss Emily." And I whispered back, "I won't, John." But I already knew. I would never forget him. Not just because he was sweet, but because deep down, he felt like mine. I returned to my office after seeing Jonathan and tried to shake off the feeling clinging to my skin like a second shadow. His voice, his laugh, it felt too familiar. I stared out the window, but I wasn't seeing the skyline anymore. I was back there, back in the cold, fluorescent-lit infirmary, back in that metal bed that reeked of bleach and despair. The pain hit me in waves, brutal, merciless, and there were no warm hands or comforting voices. No mother holding my hand, no father pacing in worry outside the door, just a nurse named Gloria, whose eyes were kind but tired, and a prison guard standing by the door like I was a threat, as if I could run anywhere mid-contraction. I remember screaming, not from the pain of labor, but from the fear of what kind of world I was bringing my baby into. I begged them, "Please let me see him, let me hold him." They let me touch him once, just once. His skin was warm, his breath was shallow. I whispered his name in my head, one I'd never get to speak out loud. And then they took him away. Said he needed immediate medical attention. Said the state had a policy. Said it was best he be raised elsewhere. And I was left alone, bleeding, crying, clutching air. Days passed, then weeks. I wrote letters that went unanswered. I begged Adrian to help me. And finally, he came. Not with my son, but with a death certificate. He died, he said. A heart condition. They couldn't save him. I asked to see him. He said she was already buried. I asked where. He gave me an address to a nameless grave in a cemetery I was never allowed to visit. I tried to believe him. I tried to accept it. But something inside me never healed, because I never felt it. I never felt the goodbye. And now, after 5 long years, a little boy runs into me with eyes that mirror mine, and a laugh that feels like something I've only ever heard in dreams. Jonathan. Eric's son. A ghost with dimples. I stared at my hands, shaking. Could it be? Could it really be? Or was my grief finally driving me insane? I didn't know what was worse, the fear that I was wrong, or the terror that I might be right. When it was 6 o'clock, I closed my laptop and went out into the evening light. And there he was, Adrian, leaning against his fancy car like nothing had happened, like we were still the same people, as if the last 5 years hadn't buried me alive. "You must be tired," he said, sounding worried but not really meaning it. "Let's go home. Lorraine has been cooking all afternoon." I let him open the door. I let him give me coffee, and I smiled, because I had learned, every lie needs a mask, and mine? It fit just fine. The drive back to the house was quiet but tense. The air buzzed with words we didn't say, betrayals we didn't talk about. He talked about Chloe's upcoming wedding plans. He mentioned work like I still cared about reports and news releases, but all I could think about was that little boy and the child I lost. When we arrived at the house, Lorraine was already waiting, wearing pearls and an apron over her expensive dress. She smiled like she hadn't helped ruin my life. "Emily, how was work today?" I answered her sweetness with words that sounded nice but hid something bad. "I need some time to get used to it again, but everyone has been very welcoming." A lie. No one had welcomed me. They had stared, whispered, and avoided me. But I had learned how to smile even when things were bad. "That's good," Lorraine said happily. "Did you hear? Your sister is getting engaged to Troy Parker." The name hit me hard. Troy Parker, the most powerful man in New York, the one everyone talked about with respect. Lorraine kept talking, sounding proud. "He's handsome and strong. Chloe is so lucky. She'll marry into the most powerful family in the city." I faked a smile. "Congratulations to Chloe. She must be very happy. Happy enough to drug me at the party, it seems." Dinner was awkward, with forced smiles and quiet eating. I didn't say much. I didn't need to. I could feel them watching me, trying to figure out what I would do. Chloe, of course, couldn't help herself. "So glad to see you fitting back in," she said with a mean smile. "I'm sure your coworkers feel so safe with you back." Lorraine gave her a soft warning look, but I saw the secret smile they shared. "I'm sure the past was very hard for everyone," I said calmly. "But some people do well in the dark." Later that night, I couldn't sleep. The house was too quiet, too full of secrets. So I walked around, and I heard them, voices, soft, hushed, but I knew who they were. Adrian and Lorraine. Close together on the living room couch like the snakes they were. "She's still as stupid as she was 5 years ago," Adrian said, sounding mean. "Pathetic," Lorraine added. "Always trusting, always loyal." I felt sick. My hands shook. I wanted to run there, to scream, to show everyone who they really were. But I didn't, because this time, I wasn't going to just react. I was going to remember every word, every detail, and I was going to use it. The morning after, I woke up with a headache. My whole body felt like it was holding its breath. The air in the Cooper mansion was thick with pretense. Lorraine humming in the kitchen. Chloe pretending her engagement meant anything real. Adrian. Hovering. I needed answers, not guesses, not feelings. Truth. That's why before breakfast I took a detour to a quiet little cafe in Hell's Kitchen. The kind of place where secrets could pass undetected between sips of coffee. He was already there, tucked into the corner booth like a man who had made a life of being unseen. Miles Reeves, my father's old investigator, discreet, loyal, deadly serious. "You're late," he said without looking up. "You're grumpy," I shot back, sliding into the seat across from him. He finally looked at me. His expression cracked just a little when he saw my face. "It's been a long time." "I know." We sat in silence for a few moments. Then I cut straight to it. "I need everything you have on my case," I said. "The trial, the child, and Adrian." He sipped his coffee. "You sure you're ready for that?" "I've waited 5 years. I'm past ready." He reached into his leather bag and pulled out a thin black folder. No labels, no names, just a seal, my father's. "I kept it in case you ever came back," Miles said. "Your father asked me to look into things just before the stroke. He had a feeling something didn't add up." I opened the folder and scanned the pages, court transcripts, financial records, photos, notes in my father's handwriting. But one detail stopped my breath. "What's this?" I asked, pointing to a signed custody transfer dated 2 days after I gave birth. "A lawyer named Ben Halvers facilitated the paperwork," Miles said. "But the signature from your side, it's forged." "What?" "I pulled your real prison signature from intake. Doesn't match." I stared at the page, at the lie printed in ink. He took my son without my consent. Miles nodded slowly. "And the hospital? The one where she supposedly died? Shut down 2 months later. The attending doctor vanished. No license records, no tax trail. Just gone." I closed the folder, bile rising in my throat. "And the death certificate?" filed by someone under an alias. We traced the address, rented office, fake phone number, no trace. I was quiet for a long time, my hand curled around the edge of the table. He made me bury a ghost, I said, and he never thought I'd come back. Miles leaned forward, his voice low. You were never supposed to. That's the part you need to understand, Emily. This whole thing, framing you, the trial, the child. It was never about justice. It was about control, about the company, your father's empire, and keeping you out of the way. My breath caught. I wanted to cry, to scream, but I didn't. Instead, I stared into my coffee cup, its surface as still and black as the truth I was about to unearth. Can you help me? I asked. I already am, he said. But if you want to do this, Emily, you'll have to play dirty. No more hesitation. No more second chances. I nodded. Good. Because I wasn't planning on giving any. After I left the cafe, I didn't go straight home. I couldn't. I needed to see him. The driver didn't ask where we were going. Most of the staff knew better than to ask questions when it came to anything involving my father. The private facility was just past the Hudson, tucked behind iron gates and hedges so high they could hide 1,000 secrets. It was quiet. Too quiet. The kind of silence that made every breath feel loud. I walked through the lobby, heels echoing against marble floors, the scent of antiseptic and polished wood clinging to the air. They still had a room reserved in his name, titan of industry, king of skyscrapers, builder of legacies. Now, a silent prisoner inside a motionless body. He lay there in a private suite filled with sunlight and expensive machines. Tubes threaded from his arms. A monitor beeped steadily like a clock counting time I could never get back. My breath caught the second I stepped into the room. I hadn't seen him in years, not since they wheeled him in, unresponsive and pale, the night of my sentencing. His hair had grayed, his cheeks had thinned, but he was still my father. Still the man who'd taught me to ride a bike, to defend myself in a boardroom, to never back down. You said we were Coopers, I whispered, moving closer to his bedside. You said we survive. I sat beside him, resting my hand over his. It was warm, still alive, still fighting, even if quietly. They tried to erase me, Dad, I said. They tried to erase us, but I'm back. I'm still standing. The silence in the room swallowed my words. I pulled out the old picture I kept folded in my wallet. Him and me on the construction site when I was 5. He was in a hard hat. I was on his shoulders, beaming. I still remember when you told me I'd run this city one day, I said, my voice cracking. I'm going to make that come true. But not for them. Not for the Coopers they've tried to turn us into. For you. His hand twitched. Just once. Barely perceptible. But it happened. I froze, stared, waited. The monitor kept beeping. Nothing else moved. Had I imagined it? No, I felt it. You heard me, I whispered. Didn't you? I held his hand tighter. I'm going to fix everything. I'm going to bring the truth to light. I'm going to take everything they stole and set it on fire. I leaned in, kissed his forehead. I love you, Dad. And then I left, but I didn't leave broken. I left burning. Because now I wasn't just fighting for justice, I was fighting for him. Lunch at the Cooper mansion was like a play. Chloe talked excitedly about Troy Parker again, making up stories about her future. Lorraine poured orange juice with a fake, wide smile. And Adrian. Adrian acted like the perfect host, but I watched them all like a hunter watching its prey. Then Lorraine leaned in, her voice too gentle. Emily, you should come to the party next week. Everyone important will be there. It's time you reminded them who you are. There was something behind her words, a trap disguised as kindness. Adrian tried to stop her. Considering Emily's past, he said softly, maybe it's not a good idea. She waved her hand dismissively. She's a Cooper, she belongs there. I smiled. Thank you. I think it's time I faced the world again. But I knew what they were planning. They wanted to make me look bad. They wanted to break me again. Let them try, because I was already making my own plans, and they would never see them coming. The days before the party went by strangely. Chloe kept moving around the house like she was the most important person in the world, acting like everything was about her and her so-called prince. I watched her practice her smiles in the mirror, the way she talked about Troy Parker, her fiancé, her victory, her way to the top. Lorraine was happy too. Like Chloe's engagement meant she would always be important, but me? I didn't say anything. I kept quiet, smiled when they talked to me, nodded when Adrian suggested I wear something simple, pretended not to notice when Chloe accidentally suggested a dress that was too small for me, Let them think I was still weak, still broken. They had no idea what I was getting ready for. The night of the party arrived. I stood in front of my mirror, the white dress fitting perfectly. My makeup was soft and simple, elegant. I didn't want to look showy. I wanted to look like the past hadn't destroyed me. The ballroom shimmered like a snow globe of wealth and vanity. Crystal chandeliers hung from the ceiling like frozen stars, and every guest seemed sculpted from ambition. I walked in alone. Every step I took across the marble floor echoed, heads turned, conversations paused. There she is. That's Emily Cooper. Didn't she kill someone? The whispers washed over me like waves crashing against stone. But I didn't flinch. I kept my head high, chin unshaken. I wore white, a shade no one expected me to choose. Soft, graceful, unapologetic. The color of innocence, the color of war. Chloe stood near the grand piano, her red dress hugging her like a scream. She was surrounded by the same women who used to beg me for interviews and charity invites. Now they hovered around her, waiting for her signal on how to treat me. She gave it with a glance. One of them stepped toward me, wine in hand, a forced smile tugging at her lip-glossed mouth. "Emily," she cooed, "you look so refreshed." "Solitary confinement will do wonders for the skin," I said, smiling sweetly. Her smirk faltered. Behind her, Chloe shot daggers at me with her eyes. I could already feel the setup building. I made my way toward a quiet spot near the balcony, but before I could reach it, a waiter with a tray of drinks intercepted me. His movements were jittery. His gaze didn't quite meet mine. "Miss Cooper," he said, bowing his head. "Compliments of Miss Wilson." He handed me a glass of red wine. I took it, held it to my lips but didn't drink. Chloe's eyes were glued to me from across the room. "Not yet, sweetheart." I turned and walked away, casually setting the wine down on the marble ledge near a centerpiece. She blinked, her jaw tightened. Round one. Mine. I wandered into the crowd, mingling with faces that pretended not to know me. I let them talk at me, pretend I wasn't a headline they whispered about in secret. I could feel Chloe circling, trying to regain her advantage, and then it happened. A second waiter, young, awkward, nearly tripped as he approached. His tray tilted, champagne glasses tipping forward. One shattered at my feet, another spilled. Right onto the front of my gown. Gasps. Eyes turned, and Chloe's smirk lit up like a Christmas tree. "Oh no!" she exclaimed dramatically, appearing right on cue. "Emily, I'm so sorry. How terribly clumsy of the staff tonight." She said it just loud enough to make sure the crowd heard. The wine left a dark stain on the white silk near my waist. The cold soaked into my skin, but I didn't move. I just looked at her. "I suppose this is the part where I'm supposed to run out in tears?" I asked calmly. Chloe blinked. I took the napkin from the flustered waiter's hand, dabbed the stain delicately, then turned to face the crowd. "I guess this confirms it," I said, voice light. "Even wine's afraid of me." The crowd chuckled nervously. I held Chloe's gaze the entire time, and then I smiled. Not the soft smile I wore earlier, not the sweet one. This one had teeth. Chloe's expression faltered for just a second, but it was enough. I handed the napkin back to the waiter, straightened my dress, and walked past her like nothing had happened. Because nothing had. Except now, the crowd had seen it. I wasn't just back, I wasn't broken. And I wasn't playing her game anymore. I was building my own, and she had just become a piece on my board. But then, the doors opened, and everything changed. He walked in like a storm in a suit. Troy Parker. But I knew him as Eric, Jonathan's father. The man who looked at me like I was a puzzle he couldn't solve. He moved through the crowd without saying a word. People moved out of his way like they could feel how important he was. And then, Chloe was holding his arm, like he was something she owned, smiling like she was showing off a prize. But his eyes? They weren't on her, they were on me. That same look I couldn't understand. Did he recognize me? Did he regret something? Maybe something darker. My heart beat fast. I looked away, finished my wine quickly, and then the floor felt like it was moving. I couldn't breathe. Everything looked blurry. It all hit me at once. The wine. It had something in it. I felt scared, but I couldn't move. My arms and legs felt heavy. My knees gave way. Strong, familiar hands caught me. "Eric." He pulled me through the crowd, into a quiet room, away from their eyes, away from their trap. I sat down on the soft couch, trying to focus, trying to breathe. "Chloe," I whispered. "She did this." He nodded slowly, like he already knew. I blinked, trying to clear my head. Why are you helping me? I asked. You barely know me. Maybe I know more than you think. That made me stop. He stood up, walked around the room, ran his hand through his hair like he was fighting something inside. I watched him like he was about to explode. Why did Jonathan feel like mine? Why did he feel like someone I knew and someone dangerous at the same time? He turned back to me. Everyone I've ever trusted has betrayed me, I said. They took my child away from me. Why should you be any different? Why shouldn't you be him? He stepped closer. Because I'm not them, Emily, and you know that. His hand reached for me. I flinched. But his touch was gentle, soft, like he knew what pain felt like and didn't want to cause more. He moved a strand of hair from my cheek. His fingers stayed there for a moment too long. I can explain everything, he said. If you let me. My head was spinning. Not just from the wine, but from the weight of what I was starting to feel. Hope. Again. I didn't know if I could handle it. Then his voice got lower, closer. It's him or me, Emily. Choose. I could hear my own heartbeat in my ears. I wanted to scream. I wanted to fall apart. I wanted the last 5 years to disappear and everything to make sense. But I stayed still. Because my heart wasn't sure anymore who the real enemy was. Then, a knock. Loud, sharp, violent. Emily? Adrian's voice, muffled but close, too close. Eric stepped back into the shadows, his jaw tight, his presence suddenly threatening. I stood up, reached for the door handle. But before I could open it, Eric whispered something that made my world turn upside down. You need to know the truth, he whispered. Jonathan isn't just my son. Everything inside me stopped. My heart pounded. The door burst open. Adrian stood there smiling like he hadn't heard anything. Everything okay in here? I stared at him. Then I looked back. But Eric was gone. Vanished. Like a ghost that came to break my reality in two and disappeared before I could ask what was real. Adrian stood there looking terrified, pale and shaken as if he'd seen a ghost. My stomach clenched. Was he hiding something? And what about Eric? Was there more to their connection than I knew? Suddenly, a colder, deeper fear surfaced. Was Jonathan even really my son? All these questions seemed to swirl together, leading back to the one that had haunted me for 5 long years. Who actually killed Adrian's ex on that fateful night? If you are excited to know what happens next, download the Pocket FM app from the link in the description and listen to the exciting episodes of Emily's Return.